here, man.
Facts. Okay, so this is the third in the series, A Dash of Motivation, and another week, which obviously means another week has passed. SubhanAllah, it's flown by. You know, another week of Ramadan, another week of lockdown has just disappeared. So with that being said, you know, what have we been doing in between those times to, I guess, further our efforts both in our deen, but also in, you know, trying to find ourselves and trying to better ourselves during this time. So yeah, with that being said, the kind of theme of today's podcast is don't count the days, make the days count. So, you know, how can we Ali? How can
Muhammad
we
Ali.
exactly Muhammad Ali, man, inspirational guy,
Ali, man.
and
Allah yarhamu.
a lot we can learn from him. But yeah, so I was like thinking about this today, and Ramadan. It's gonna come to an end at some point. So how do we make these last 10, 15 days count? You know, not obsessing about how many there are left, but how we're gonna make each and every single one of them count. So and then obviously the larger picture, the bigger picture. I mean, there is no bigger picture than Ramadan, obviously, and our religion, but lockdown is going to end eventually, you know. So with that in mind as well, like how are we making our days in lockdown count? Particularly, you know, Tabarak and Ihab, you guys have just finished exams. So how are you feeling now? Are you feel, or how do you feel you're using your time? But if we just quickly maybe go around the table and give a quick how the first half of Ramadan has gone for each of us, and then how we are trying to make the second half count as much as we can, you know.
Yeah,
let's start off with you, Mandor.
yeah, sure thing, Mo, man. Those incredible questions, bro. In terms of like the first half of Ramadan, like, wow, man, it's been a really great experience. I think with this whole lockdown situation, you're kind of forced, you're forced to kind of think differently and do things differently. So for me personally, it's been a great time to reflect on Ramadan, to reflect on Islam, to reflect on like goals and like, you know, where as an individual, like where I'm heading, like what I want to try and achieve in the short term and also the longer term. But above all, it's been a beautiful time to reflect on Islam, trying to understand Islam, trying to read Quran with fellow friends, and really just reflect on the beauty of life, you know, and that saying, don't count the days, make the days count. So for me, it's been an incredible journey these past 16 days. And one of the ways I've kind of been keeping in tune with the spirit of Ramadan is through reflection, through reading Quran, through really being, alhamdulillah, like a part of Layali Ramadan, which is really brought us together, right? We've been able to learn from a diverse range of people from different backgrounds. I mean, the sessions we've had with Abdul Wahab, the coaching sessions, all these sessions that we've been kind of tuning into as well. It's just been a beautiful period of unity. So yeah, I've spent the 16 days really reflecting on Islam and trying to better my understanding of it.
Amazing. Yeah. Ihab, you want to jump in next?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, it's day 16, bro. You know, like I feel like Ramadan just started like, you know, a couple of days ago. We're like day 5 into fasting, but you know, we're across half point, you know. Don't have too long of it, you know, for it to be all gone, you know, and like coming into this month, I didn't know what to expect just because of quarantine. Like usually every Ramadan, there's always events going on. You're going to the mosque, you're coming back, you know, like it's just so much going on. So I really didn't know what to expect. I kind of went in, you know, with an open mind, trying to make the best out of it. And alhamdulillah, I think like you know, I got more in tune with things that I usually wouldn't do usually in Ramadan. Um, so for example, like, you know, I'd pray like Isha, 4 rak'ahs of Tarawih, get out the box real quick to see what the motive is. But now, like, you know, we're praying at home together. We're
Yeah.
praying 8 rak'ahs, Shuf'a and Witr. You know, just small habits that I think if not for this quarantine, I might have, you know, overlooked. Also, I have a lot of time in my hands in the sense where, you know, I just finished exams too, but like instead of just reading the Quran and going through it, I'm getting more to understand it. You know, so I'm reading a lot of tafsirs, reflecting on certain ayahs, and you know, just things that actually resonate with me, and expanding on it, and like reflecting on it, you know, on a day-to-day life base, and trying to understand what the purpose of this ayah was. When did it come out? You know, what was the story behind it? Because you know, everything has a story, and once you the story, then it's easy for you to kind of relate to that. So that's kind of my efforts on that part, you know, spiritually. But also, like, I take every Ramadan ever since like 2013 as a physical challenge. So I actually have workouts before iftar and after iftar, which might sound a little extreme, but I'm a professional, so you know, I get paid to do that. But yeah, it kind of helps me build my endurance, and I take it as a mental challenge to push through, because you know, times where I'm dehydrated, I'm dead, and I'm doing workouts that on a regular day would be a very hard workout, but I'm doing it deprived of you know, water, you know, no nutrition or food in the system. So it's just been a physical, mental, and like spiritual uplifting this overall. So can't complain.
It's
Tabarak, how's your Ramadan so far?
it's been great, honestly. Like something that I said in a previous live, like Ramadan being in the quarantine and being like at home, you go from like mindless practices to more like mindful practices. And I feel like I'm going back to that kid back in the day when you ask why, like why do we do that? Why do we do this? And I'm just asking why about everything. And I used to do like every morning, but like I never really asked why do we do that? Why is this a practice? Like I knew like we get hasanat for doing it, but like it never like understood why like our everything, Yani. Amr Suleiman, also, I'm listening to Amr Suleiman's like Angel series right now, and that has been absolutely amazing in the sense of just making you conscious about the things that we just overlook, like in the Naika that are around us, like um, things like that. So I'm just like going back to like basic, like and like things like that, like the importance of everything being intentional and like having like I'm trying to practice that more because even though like you may not always meet the goals that you want to set, but just having the intentional loss of pound to add like reward so I think I've been practicing that more because I feel like in my past like so many things slip because I'm so mindless and I may have not got like the hasanat like in Allahu alam Allah is like super merciful so I'm just
Yeah.
that's yani that's that this Ramadan that I'm being more intentional and like because like it's so limited to do good also like you're at home so even like the habits or the things that I would do I would be intentional about doing those like whether it's helping my mom whether it's donating whatever it might be like that's been my theme like these past couple of days like being intentional asking why and asking why of like why are these like good habits to have and then also like paying attention to what are my like habits that I have that could also be detrimental to my growth whether it's like spiritually mentally emotionally or whatever um that has been like the theme for me those past couple well it's not even past couple of days it's 2 weeks
Two
these past
weeks. It
yeah
feels like a past couple of days though, for real.
yeah
Right.
that's
Yeah, that's good tomorrow.
I said that's where I'm at, like intention, setting intention, and understanding why, like from our religious practices.
Okay, so I'm gonna stick with you because I really like that being intentional. What are your intentions for the last, for the second half of Ramadan? Like, have you is there anything that you've set as your goals? And I guess, in terms of setting your goals, who has been inspiring you to set your goals in terms of your Ramadan goals, or other?
Yeah, like mashallah, like definitely right now, like seeing my parents and then like seeing my mom in particular, and then also just on social media, seeing like the different like organizations that are doing like great work and like kind of keeping that spiritually heightened time, especially during Ramadan. I think my next intention, like leading, especially in preparation for um, the 10 days, like you don't want to miss the Qadr. So that's going to be my time where I'm going to push myself like to the most. I've been like being gentle with myself, like throughout the very beginning, like nurturing myself and kind of getting into Ramadan because this Ramadan is so strange, like kind of being in the quarantine, not having my usual practices. So I wasn't trying to be, I was trying to be really kind to myself in that process and understanding like my rhythm, what's my flow. And alhamdulillah, like I've kind of got like a good pattern going on. So the last 10 days, like, is when I'm gonna be like aggressive about it, be super intentional. I can put my actions to work, like, and of course, be gentle, but like I'm gonna like be on caffeine basically.
So you're gonna go Dutch a couple times, yeah?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I really like the balance between being gentle, being aggressive. I think as well, like, I don't know, you've all sort of said it, and like we're being able to do things that usually because like I don't know, it's can't talk about this one without talking about like quarantine. The fact that we just had to en masse completely reassess all of our priorities, and so what that means is like other things that in Ramadan you would do and would take away time from learning, like listening to webinars or reading Quran and reading Qasir and sitting and reflecting. All of the other things that you had prioritized as important in your life, those were taking your time in Ramadan, and now we've just like stripped it back, and it's kind of like the things that we allow to enter our time is, I think we're being more selective. I mean, that's the great thing about like the Layali Ramadan program that we've got, is that it's been very considered, the content. It's not just like anybody anything, it's things that we're trying to help benefit people, trying to help inspire different people.
In it meaningful.
Meaningful, exactly. So yeah, Ihab or Mandur, do you have anything to add in terms of like what are your intentions for the second half, and who has been motivating or inspiring you to, I guess, set your goals for the second half? Kick off with
go
I was about to say تفضل طوالي.
Beat you to it.
Like you beat me to it, bro. Beautiful question, Muhammad. I really liked what you said about getting that balance kind of right. I think for me, in terms of the people that have been really inspiring me this Ramadan, it's my parents. I think outside of my parents and like sisters, it's the first time we're actually spending Ramadan together as a united family, because my sisters live abroad. So it's the first time we're actually in a house going through Ramadan and the whole experience, which has been really incredible. So you can reflect together, right? I think like outside my parents, the thing that's really inspired me as well is really Layali Ramadan, and the program that we have and the characters that we've actually had on the program, actually like delivering really meaningful lessons, and in doing so, allowing us to kind of prick their brains on the things that do matter. And the person that really, comes to mind again is Abdul Wahab. I mean, the series of talks he gave about your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with others. I know that's had a huge effect on all of us. For me personally, it's been incredible just listening to that, because it's helped me kind of grow closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through trying to read more of the Quran, trying to reflect more, trying to listen to podcasts. I've actually been, doing a lot of research on Muhammad Ali, which the theme today is kind of, yeah, yani, don't count the days, make the days count, right? And I'd say he's probably one of the single most kind of celebrities out there who has really helped me, I guess, through the past 2 weeks or so, and someone that I bear in mind as we go into the last 10 days or so of Ramadan. Just his life story, you know, reading up again on his life story, his conversion to Islam, the struggles that he faced during such difficult times, and the message that he left behind for the world, you know, like, yani, I was talking to a friend earlier, and I was just saying I woke up today, just he was in, and he, subhanAllah, this person that I don't know, never met in my life, but you know how it's like, some people just really have an effect on you. So I just found myself reflecting more about him and his life stories, and just thinking, you know what, I hope that at some point in time I can achieve some of the things he achieved in spirituality, and that level, building that level of Imam. So that's something I really plan on taking from the next period, inshallah. And at the same time, giving back. I think Ramadan is all about giving back, and there's so many ways to do that. It's not just through donations, but it's through giving back, through knowledge, through saying kind words, through appreciating your parents, appreciating your loved ones. And at the same time, just like Tabarak was expanding on, you know, it's been amazing and refreshing to just see so many great orgs doing incredible work out there in Sudan and elsewhere. So inshallah, that's how I plan to spend like the next period, inshallah.
Yeah, mashallah. And I don't mean to jump before you, Ihab, but like, honestly, like,
Go for it, Tawari.
Layali Ramadan has been that, like, just seeing how different people that, like, by the way, everyone that has came on the Layali Ramadan platform has done it for free, for the kindness of their heart, for wanting to give back to the community. Right. And no matter what community, like, for example, like Hassan, who's been reciting Quran with us like every morning at 8 a.m. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Like, he has no business getting up this early, and he worked and gets up so much so that there was one day like I overslept, and he's like, Tabarak, where you at? Like, mashallah, like that drive. And then I think a reality check for also that happened with the SDN. As a result of SDN, somebody tagged us and showed us a picture of the diary and like how we were a part of their timeline for the day. And just seeing that was so inspiring. Wow.
What?
Yeah, it was so amazing. Like, I was just like, this is
I completely missed that. What's that about?
Yeah, like they literally was all like Khatira with SDN World and then something else. And I was just like, that is so amazing. And also I love the
that's beautiful, man.
And I want to apply that in my life too. So like, crazy how inspiration, like a circle, like you inspire, someone else inspires you, and it's just like this beautiful like cycle.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Thanks. And just like, and like, you guys literally took my train of thought and said out loud, like, and literally everybody over here, you know, and everybody that's watching, I know a lot of our teammates are watching, and a lot of people that actually tune in, the Layali Ramadan are watching, but literally everybody that's been part of this past 2 weeks has been complete motivation in a sense, and giving us a sense of direction as to where to take Ramadan. But I think just to answer Moji's question, like what my intentions for the next 10 days have been set from the foundation of the first 2 weeks so far. So literally, I wake up every day, and I know at 3 p.m. we're talking about something booming. At 4 p.m. my time, Central Time, we're talking about something booming. It's always something uplifting your spirituality, motivating you, you know, allowing you to get inspired to do better. And, you know, subconsciously, like, that just sticks with you. And I think, like, when you make a conscious effort to do better, those things act, you know, as a backbone or a push for you to do so. So big shout out, you know, to everybody on here, Mandur, Moji, Tabarak. Like, you guys have really played a role this Ramadan to make it different, you know. Everybody else on SDN World, you know. I mean, everybody's just done a tremendous job doing their part. And, you know, as a result, we're seeing, you know, beautiful interactions, like, you know, what Tabarak said. And we've had plenty of interactions the past 2 weeks. that I look back at and I'm like, wow, okay, like this has really had an effect on somebody, you know, and just knowing that I'm like it's having an effect on me, you know. I might not vocalize it or really think about it, but you know, when I or like know it until I actually deeply think about it, you know. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is really having an effect. But I think, yeah, man, just the intention of giving back, you know, has been at an all-time high. We have the Sudan the Safe campaign with the rest of the Sudani American collaborative that has reached 5K today, alhamdulillah. You know, YFCD has reached 7K today. You know, and all these other organizations that are fundraising. And subhanAllah, like, you know, every Ramadan, there's always people, you know, giving a lot of sadaqat out to you know, for different causes, whether it's to feed a family or to sponsor an orphan or whatever. But subhanAllah, I mean, Rabbi Zati, you know, like we have this COVID-19 situation and like our country needs us. So it's like a perfect opportunity. Like you're giving back to your motherland at a time where, you know, it's most in need. And just to see people respond to an opportunity like that with gracefulness and, you know, just selflessness, you know, has just been completely inspiring. But yeah, definitely looking to take all of that and all the things we've done the past 2 weeks and really like put a boost on it the last 10 days, inshallah.
Amen.
I just went and checked the launch good. The longest time it was stuck on like 4,999. Hi Ghazani, like that dollar, like it not 5,000. Guys, we're at $5,085. MashaAllah.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. It's beautiful.
Amazing.
MashaAllah.
Tabarakallah.
Incredible.
I had an even number.
Beautiful stuff.
5,100.
An even number adds to it as well. Cherry on the top.
Amazing. The thing actually, just like, it's almost a tangent and I don't want to get too lost, but I guess like in terms of inspirational people, like, yeah, mashallah, we've had so many on the SDN platform, like Layali Ramadan, mashallah. And you know, you mentioned Muhammad Ali, and like, you know, I was listening earlier today about the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the thing is that you realize about these people, there's always conviction in what they do and in what they believe. They're not afraid to speak out about what they believe, you know. So I think that will always be something. And at the moment, it's currently, you know, it's really something I'm starting to think about a lot. Like we often will just, somebody will say something and it can not sit right with us. It cannot sit right with our deepest part of us, and we'll kind of let it slide, right? But actually, how do we, with patience and with, you know, humility, with all of the, you know, prophetic characteristics, you know, how do we actually break down, have the conviction to say, no, actually, I don't think that's right. I think, you know, what you're saying is, you know, deeply offensive, or it's completely wrong. So yeah, that was just a little side, but yeah, so there's honestly so much inspiration at the moment. And I think, yeah, like you've all said, we're at this time where we're kind of, we've been given an opportunity to reflect a lot, which is amazing. And I guess, you know, who is looking forward to lockdown finishing, just as a, you know, out of curiosity. A couple mans wants to trim.
Oh yeah, see, you know what's crazy is Texas is actually open now for 25%, and by June 1st we're at 100%. So I don't know how I feel about that, but you know, honestly, yeah, I'm just looking forward to set new goals that include going outside, you know what I mean, and doing interactive stuff. Because for the longest time, you know, all the goals that we had, you know, life goals has been put into pause, and we've started, you know, creating all these virtual goals and stuff. So I'm excited to get back to, you know, this knocking down these baby small goals, you know, and driving into the big goals, you know.
When you said that, I was thinking knocking down 3-pointers and driving into the lane. Sorry.
Yeah, no. We all we do is dunk the ball, man. You know, we'll leave the shooting for you, Moji.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. But I think, I mean, I guess taking me on to the next question. You know, everyone asks this every year, and it's maybe I hope people haven't gotten tired of this question. But the first question is, what have you been doing in Ramadan that you want to take out, you know, back into your everyday? And then the second thing is, what have you been learning during lockdown? And when you go out, you know, for some of us sooner than later, what are you going to be taking out? Because I think there's a lot, and I don't even know if we're going to, I don't know how long it's going to take us to really understand how much we've learned about ourselves during this lockdown, which is kind of what you were saying earlier about all these lives. You don't even know how much how much they've soaked in until a bit later. So 2-part question: Ramadan, taking outside into normal life, and then post-lockdown.
That's a good question. And for me, at some point, like during this lockdown, I should like change my mindset from like, what am I gonna do after it? You know what I mean? These habits that I feel like I'm creating right now, I just want it to continue, whether we're in a lockdown or we're not in a lockdown. I think because of this lockdown, I've become aware. Again, it goes back to intention, but I've become more intentional about practices. Like, I mean, listening back when like university was open and everything, we would walk a lot and whatever. And I got my day, so it's not really enough to kind of like how many steps you're supposed to be having in a day, how often you're supposed to be working out. But now I'm like more goal oriented, and I'm more focused towards like, did you go out tomorrow? Did you walk? Did you meet those 10,000 steps? Like those type of things that I wasn't necessarily intentional about beforehand, because I was like, you know what, I walked a day, but really I just drove to campus, walked to class, walked to my other class, and then walked back to my car and went back home, which is like nowhere near enough. So for me, it's just that intentional piece. Like I really realize, like, whether it's with spirituality, whether it's with our physical health, just like knowledge seeking in general, I think that is going to be key, inshallah, like moving forward. Spending time with nature, like, because we're so in, and I always love nature. It's a bummer that I live nowhere near a beach and water, but I love a water scene. But I've been more intentional about like just being outside, getting fresh air. Now that things that I wasn't necessarily doing beforehand as much, I would only do it in moments where I'm like, I just need a break and I'm so stressed. So I go out in nature and like I detach. But now like once a week, twice a week, like even I'm going to the point where I'm going outside like on a daily basis, just like for fresh air. So that, and then I think you asked the question about like Ramadan habits, right?
Yeah, so Ramadan as well. Like, what are you trying to take out of Ramadan?
Yeah.
And maybe to make the question more difficult, what do you think? So, like, let's say after Ramadan, yeah. You know, I had to. She was like, these were the questions, and she was just like, batting them away like this. So I was like,
bro. Be easy.
Remember, this is Ramadan right now. Like mid-sentence.
Okay, fine. I'll come back. I won't make it hard.
No, go for it.
Go for it. Make it exciting.
No, I was just gonna say, so like, you know, okay, what like the things that you want to take from Ramadan out once you answer that question, how do you think like lockdown being lifted might affect some of those goals? So say, for example, if one of the goals is to read a lot of Quran, you know, at least 30 minutes to an hour, then once lockdown is lifted and we kind of go back to the normal way of life, do you think your Ramadan goals are at risk, or do you think that's just generally how it works? you know, you have to really be strong in the habits that you plan to take forward.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Like being on this quarantine or not being on this quarantine, I'm still the ghetto. Like I'm still the same as I was before and after. Like absolutely nothing changed.
I feel that on a spiritual level, Tamara.
I'm like really worried about being in this quarantine. Like, and I still somehow like find time to FaceTime every single person. And now because every single person followed me, I'm like still socializing in that way. And that's kind of been a challenge for me, like pre-quarantine, during quarantine now. It's gonna be a challenge in my life just because I love to socialize. I love to like that's where I get my energy from. So I think now it's a little bit easier in the sense like I'm no longer like being hit up to go get coffee or to go out to eat because that's not a thing. So I think like right now with my Ramadan goals of honestly it's still kind of a challenge for me sometimes because there's like a really like sweet spot where like all my friends are awake at a certain time when I should be focusing on like my Ramadan, reading Quran more, reading additional pages and stuff and like focusing on it, that I'm kind of getting distracted in that way. So that's what I'm saying. Like in the last, I want to be more aggressive in the sense of like really shutting my phone down and like kind of vocalizing that and setting boundaries, like kind of what we talked about the past couple weeks, like or the past couple of days with AB. So yeah, so that's kind of like what I hope to learn moving forward is like setting that me time, that self-love time, that self-growth time, having the strength. Yeah, I want to hear from you guys. Like, maybe y'all got it better figured out than I do.
That's an amazing response, Tabarak. You know, it's crazy, Moji. Like, I think to one of your questions about, you know, once the quarantine kind of ends, how will that change the habits you've kind of picked up during Ramadan, right? I mean, a big part of me is kind of like bittersweet about lockdown ending in a way because I think it's whilst we've been in that lockdown period, it's the perfect opportunity to really focus on the things that you value the most, right? It's a perfect opportunity to really get things done that you might have started, because the reality is once it's lifted, life just kind of goes on, and with that, there's more distractions, right? So, and that can kind of, I guess, it can limit your focus on things that you really prioritize. So for me personally, it's like it's a bittersweet thing. I am looking forward to that feeling of just being able to, you know, like just text someone, like text a good friend and be like, yo, let's link up in central London, you know? Let's go for a coffee, let's go for a bike ride and stuff. I'm proper looking forward to that. Looking forward to, you know, hey, let's go and check out this event. Let's go and just, you know, link up with some other people. Or let's just go to a course or something like that. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. But I'm a big part of me, you know what? You know, we need to make use of the time that we have in this lockdown to better our knowledge, our understanding on the things that we cherish the most, and the habits that we, like personally for me, like being more in tune with, you know, like with Ramadan, like Islam in general, and reading more and like listening to podcasts, you know, asking questions to people that are more knowledgeable than me in certain spaces. That's something I want to continue, like that spirituality side of things. That's something I want to take outside of Ramadan. So that's kind of where I stand on that. In terms of, I think, what was your other question, Mohammed?
Wait, sorry.
I think he hit on the nail.
Other question. Yeah.
Yeah, just you know, with what you take out of quarantine and Ramadan. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, dude, you're always precise with your answers.
Perfect. Bro. That's it.
Yeah, bro.
I appreciate that, bro. Thank you so much.
Yeah, mashallah, bro. Like we all aspire to get to your level of you know, articulating yourself, mashallah.
No,
but like honestly, what
appreciate that. It's been a great Pray to rain.
Yeah, we're really, I'm sorry, it's kind of delaying kid. But yeah, we're really like, I made a dua
Mm.
going into Ramadan, and I actually tweeted it, just to come back and look at it. I said, may Allah guide us on this month to build lifetime habits that get us closer to Him and answer all of our du'as. You know what I mean? And you know,
I
that's
mean,
something that I've been focusing on is, you know, what habits do I want to take spiritually from this month, you know, quarantine or not. And I think that's kind of, you know, a mindset we all go into, you know, every Ramadan with, but not certainly, you know, you always come out of that with, you know, successful or like with, you know, habits that go throughout the year. But like I've really put my intention, you know, coming back to what Tabarak was saying about intentions, is I've really set my intention to build habits, like small habits that I wouldn't usually do on a regular day. You know, just like praying sunnah, stuff like that. After prayers, you know, reading Quran consistently. And like I want to keep that going throughout the year. And I think what really stood out this Ramadan, more than others, I'm not sure. It could be the quarantine, but I really haven't really put a lot of thought into it. But what really stood out is my connection with everything I'm doing. So usually every Ramadan, yeah, I'm reading Quran, yeah, I'm going to the mosque and praying, but the connection, yani, it wasn't as strong as right now. Even though you know, we're deprived of a lot of, you know, like, and now we look at that as, you know, benefits or like luxuries, I would call it. You know, going to the mosque and going to Hajjud and, you know, Qiyam al-Layl and having iftar with family and friends. Like all of those are blessings, you know. But honestly, maybe the being deprived of that, I put more energy into connecting with the smaller things that I do have in my hand, you know, whether it's with the Quran or with my prayers. But I think I've built or am building habits that I could take outside of this, you know, from just being more connected to everything that I do spiritually. You know, not just praying to pray, but actually being there, you know, while praying, being there while I'm reading the Quran, and I'm not just, you know, just streaming through it, kida, just to finish the Quran in 1 month, you know, actually understanding what this ayah means and reflecting on it on life. And I think that's something that, you know, that connection is not something that you lose easily. So now I feel like every time, you know, I put my head to the ground and for sujood, like I'm always there, you know. And yeah, I've always had this, and I know it's not easy, you know, that connection with God. You know, a lot of people find a hard time to actually speak to God. You know, like how do but I think I'm working on developing that, and I think that's something that I could take outside of this quarantine. But yeah, honestly, in terms of this outside of spirituality, this quarantine vibes, how would it be after? I don't know what I would really take of. I'm super excited to get back to regular life, just because, like I said, like there's so many goals that, you know, I want to conquer, and it's a lot of, and I feel like there's a sense, like, to be quite frank, like yes, we do have a lot of time, but there's also a lot of procrastination going on, right? So you feel like you have a lot of time, that way you kind of delay things, but you know, I'm just, you know, longing for that sense of urgency, like, okay, you know, last minute stuff, getting things done, you know, always on the move. You know, I'm always in my car, so this whole lockdown has been has been a whole shambles for me, to say the least. You know, I'm always on the move, so
So
I'm very
we
excited.
know, bro.
Yeah, but I'm definitely excited to get back to my baby, my car. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's interesting. I really like what you and mashallah, what you're talking about is like essentially just present, you know? And I think that's one thing, you know, it's the same about being intentional, it's being both, like, you know, intentional in terms of what you're trying to accomplish, achieve in salah, or not necessarily achieve, but what, just being present in that moment, and like, you know, opening your heart, opening your mind, everything to Allah in that moment. And if it's not prayer, it's the Quran. If it's not Quran,
Yeah.
it's the people around you,
Mm-hmm.
or the people that you connect with, you know, on virtually, right? And I think that's the issue that we have as this generation, is that we like every moment has lost its preciousness because of the fact that like we're just overexposed to like everything, you know. Like you could switch on your phone now and you would have, you know, different notifications, and you've got Instagram and loads of people are going live, and you know, so it's always like we have this constant almost fear of like not picking the right path, like this fear of missing out, right? So all ends up happening is when you're doing one thing, you're thinking about another thing, which is really detrimental to that thing that you're doing. So it's just like having the patience, having the discipline, having the sort of motivation to just sit and think, actually, this thing that I'm doing now, you know, I'm sat next to my parents or I'm sat next to my brother. That thing right there, that is the most important thing, is connecting to them. Or the Quran, that is the most important thing. You know, and once we unlock that, we realize that that's actually more important than doing 100 different things at the same time. It's just being present in that specific moment.
That's it. Well, I want to kind of expand on that because something Gahab said about, you know, essentially being there, like being there and connections, like that resonated with me to the, because it ties into that theme, making the days count, right? And it's the small and bigger things, like being there when you're reading the Quran or being there on a spiritual level. But at the same time, when lockdown actually ends and we end up, you know, going to central London to grab a coffee, or going to the park to visit a friend, or, you know, going with our parents to visit family, friends, yani cherish those moments, man. Like that's something this Ramadan is really teaching me, is that you should cherish every single moment that you go. Like you make the days count, because you never happen at some point. There could be another lockdown, and there could be, you know, something else even more worse. So really make the days count, cherish every moment, try to live offline more than living, say, online, because maybe it's whilst you're living offline that you actually see the realities on the ground, you know?
Exactly. Even in this time, like connecting with our family, like I think just the way, like in the societies that we live in, like in the UK and the US, yeah, it's a very capitalistic society. It's a very like move, a very fast pace. But for once, like we're slowing down, we're yani getting that opportunity to connect with our family members, yani, because no one else has. You can't really go out with your friends. You're just chilling here and connecting on a deeper level that you may have not gotten to connect with your family members, like your parents or your siblings, in the same manner.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. It's interesting as well. I like that you brought up the kind of, you know, capitalist society that we live in. I always say like we've been like kind of force fed this notion that like we always have to be productive. We have to be productive all the time. But like if we stop and think about it, like who are we being productive for? Like, okay, like fair enough. I think we learn a lot from being on you know, graduate programs, or being in university, and just generally being part of the working world. You learn a lot. But actually, like this whole drive for productivity, at the end of the day, it's mostly beneficial to kind of, you know, the economy and the person who owns that business at the end of the day. So what you do for them, if it's to the detriment of your mental health or your physical health or just your general enjoyment, I don't think it's really worth it. And I think that's what, you know, I think we've spoken about it before, maybe me and Mandoor, but like, you know, this idea of self-love. Yeah, exactly. Do what you love. And I think as well, like, I don't know, once we got into this lockdown, I realized that there are a lot of external factors that will kind of end up being your motivation for work. And once you remove those, actually, you realize, okay, like you'll start stripping back what it is, what aspects you enjoy of the work. And you realize that, you know, okay, maybe I need to focus on that aspect. So the you know, more creative side, or the more managerial side, or whatever it is, you start to realize these are the things that actually motivate me. And, you know, for me as well, like through Layali Ramadan and through just, you know, being active and being introspective, I've realized how much there are lots of things that I want to do that I don't get to do in my day-to-day job. And I'm now, because of this time that we've been given, I'm saying to myself, look, you know, you've got no excuses now to pick up that book that you wanted to, or to start that thing that you wanted to start. Just go and do it. And I don't know, I mean, I guess like I'm trying my best to not, you know, because a lot of these things are digital, I'm saying to myself, look, just do them now whilst you have the time. And so for me, there is that part of me is kind of, you know, is fearing the end of lockdown, because of the fact that what if I haven't accomplished enough before the end of lockdown, you know? So that kind of, yeah, it's kind of, it's difficult to navigate, but, you know, got to just try and do our best and stay motivated.
It goes back to being gentle.
No, we've got a question for you.
Go ahead.
That's it. So being gentle with yourself. But I actually got a question for you, which I know Tabarak and Ihab will feel. But what you were saying about, you know, like doing things where you might not necessarily be able to do when you're like back at work and your time in a way is constrained. I mean, for you, bro, the first thing that came to mind was everything you've been doing on the poetry side of things as well, like writing, but actually performing online. So how has that helped inform like your kind of Ramadan experience? And inshallah, bro, you're going to be taking that post lockdown, man, and actually expanding on that, man.
Yeah. So, you know, I've been super thankful for, like, because I mean, yeah, I haven't been performing and haven't really been sharing much, but like I've been writing a lot over the last couple of months. So, you know, there's a lot that I want to share with people, and I'm still writing. And even now, like just being more intentional with just trying to find that time on a daily basis to just write, to just, you know, just me and myself, and just writing. And yeah, no, I'm like, it's just been super thankful, and it's been so heartwarming, all the like positive responses to the performances. So obviously I want to keep doing it. Got something in the works as well with a little thing that you know, me and if you know Thureya, she's a very talented, mashallah, poet. So we're gonna be starting a little something. So keep your eyes peeled for an announcement. But yeah, definitely it will, inshallah, manifest in the physical world as well, not just the digital world.
What a teaser, mashallah. We're excited.
It was dope.
Thank you.
Dope.
So what did you have, Tabarak, did you want to chime in? Sorry,
I said, are you dropping a poem for us today?
No, there's no poem today.
Just strictly motivational, huh?
Strictly motivational.
Hey, have a poem very motivational in itself, man. So, you know, Moji should bless us with some motivational.
A little snippet, kiddo.
What you want? Are you putting me on the spot again?
Putting you on the spot. Is that peer pressure? Is that peer pressure, son?
Khalas, I've got something it's been in my back pocket for a while, so you know.
Hey, okay.
Let me.
Ooh, all right. Okay. Are you ready? All right, cool.
Wait, I'm trying to find it.
The exclusive adaptive motivation. You won't catch this anywhere else.
It's a fact. Can't milk this out him on live. You do it here though.
That's it, man. No script here, man. We just running with the flow.
So actually, I wrote this after, I think, when we were basically coming back from Sudan in winter.
Ooh.
So it makes sense that I share it with the SDN world first. But yeah, it was just like I was, filled with a lot of positivity, a lot of hope after you know what the sort of Bridging the Gap SDN conference. So this is called The Motherland. Okay. Summers in winter, brothers and sisters, a nation rebuilding. I wonder if they've missed us. The diasporic gap and the bridges we're building. An energy infectious, Hanabnihu, together we'll build it. In our quest for change, lest we forget the past mistakes made, because I see all the stigmas, a phrase I won't mention, Wallah the harm rearranged for the societal death sentence. If I told them make a wish, would they erase their existence? May a Gum'ah come where we all fill a heart with the love that's been so deficient. Glimmers of hope in the winter sun shall continue to shine. The musician's talent and all of the art, a bright future, soon enough, a one-way ticket to my heart. There you go. You got your wish.
Yo,
Let me mute
mashallah,
myself real
bro.
quick.
Listen, yo, Mo, man. Bro, mashallah. Jeez.
Thank you.
Bro, always powerful words of wisdom, bro, behind those poems, man. Mashallah.
Inshallah.
Appreciate it.
Always resonates. If you're in the diaspora, you resonate to Moji's poem, like 100%.
That's it.
Mashallah.
Mashallah, bro.
Listen,
Thank
you
you so
guys
much for
you're
sharing
always
that, man.
inspired.
Yeah.
You guys are always inspiring me to write. So just keep being you, and I'm gonna keep writing.
Yes, sir.
Alhamdulillah.
I need
Definitely.
Bro.
that's I could read.
That's it.
Like, I want to.
Pardon?
I need to.
You want to read it?
Yes, I just need to like, look at it, you know. That was fantastic.
That's it. Mo, we need to see
Hey,
it
we
written up. There's a page called Dear Azza, right, on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to
You
see
show your
those. See
poems?
that there, bro.
Yeah, it's a fact.
Definitely.
Or we need a book. Might as well.
A book? Nah, I'm
Yeah.
not ready yet. I'm not ready. Give me
Go
another
for it. Why not?
year or two or
Aim
something.
high. You know, we gonna dash some motivation into that
That's
book,
it.
inshallah.
That's
Yeah,
it. All I'm
inshallah,
saying, bro,
inshallah.
the title.
Release the
title has to be
Moji
Sir
Moji
Moji.
Chronicles.
Yeah,
Sir
Moji
Moji.
Chronicles.
Sir Moji.
Sir Mo Gaff. You know, something like that, bro.
You guys are motivating me for real.
The end.
But actually, quick shout out to two of our mashallah, tabarakallah, yani Fazom, our favorite creatives, Bayadil and Jihad Saleh. They're running a competition. So anybody watching, anybody who wants to get involved, check out the SDN Instagram page, write a poem, and the question is, what fills your heart? So that's the theme, and submit an audio or video to the SDN email, which you can find in Instagram.
I can't wait for that, Allah.
Amazing, man.
Yeah.
Man. That's gonna be amazing.
Man, Hadil just dropped the gem. Honestly, I'm sorry, I'm kind of going back. Like I'm looking at the comments on the YouTube live, and mashallah, bless everybody that's tuning in. So Hadil said she read this today and she feels like it's relevant to this, and I think it is as well. She says, destroy the idea that you have to constantly work or grind in order to be successful. Embrace the concept that rest and recovery are essential parts of the progress towards a successful life.
Wow.
And I feel that on a spiritual level, because like a lot of times, like,
wow,
you know, I'll be the first to say, I do not rest. I do not rest enough. And that's something with self-love, and, you know, I'm trying to work on that. But at the same time, I feel like the grind is just there, you know. I can't take no days off. If I'm resting, somebody else is working. Like, I'm so into that mentality. But I think this quarantine kind of forced me to rest, you know, in a sense, like, okay, I'm not just full pedal to the metal all the time, you know, and just relax, chill, take my time, you know, when my body does need the recover, take some time off. But yeah, I think that really resonates with all of us, you know. And I think, like Tabarak and Moji touched upon, you know, we live in such a fast-paced world, you know, especially with social media, and everybody wants you to deliver, but you're never really taking time for yourself. And I think that's important in terms of creativity, and in terms of even, like, you know, accomplishing your personal goals. You know what I mean? Like, you need that time up, you know. All of us might work different jobs or be at schools and stuff like that, but we're so overwhelmed with the load of work that they give us that we don't have time to do, or thrive for our personal goals. That's why a lot of these, a lot of people say, I just had to drop out of school or college, to pursue my dream, for example, because I feel like there's so much pressure to balance that, so yeah, I think is a great advice to kind of tackle both, whatever you're doing for a career and whatever you aim to do on a personal note. Yeah, so there's a dash of motivation from Hadil to you guys. And shout out Hadil, by the way. She's been
That's an amazing question, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for Hadid, mashallah. Like, you've been a real one throughout this. You've been sending great questions, great comments. Like,
thanks.
Appreciate you, sis.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I have a thing you're saying. She's been in every single live, man, mashallah. Like, always dropping them bomb questions, man.
Yeah, speaking of questions. Yeah, sorry.
To answer like that as well, like, your health is your wealth. Let her go. Yeah, it's kind of delayed on my end, by the way. So, معلش لو ما قاطع فيكم by accident. But yeah, I was just saying, literally, your health is your wealth. I think what Ihab was saying, like, that resonates a lot, because at the end of the day, like, take everything a step at a time. Step at a time. Remember, you're not in competition with anyone as well, other than yourself. So take things a step at a time. Whenever you feel that you're ready for the next step, then you can take it like that. And you can apply that logic to, I think, any aspect of your life, whether that be career related or spirituality related. But I think the most important thing is, at the end of the day, like, making sure your mind is right. So your health is a wealth. So that's an amazing question, Hadid, man.
Facts. Keep your health, keep your health in check, and I guess your wealth will be in the check. But what is, so Hadid's question as well was, what is something new that you've...
Again, MG, that was a really fun. I don't think the people caught that.
What? Let's just pretend I didn't say it.
No, it was lit, bro. I know what Tabarak saying. See, this is what you get from a poet.
There you go. A drop.
drop a little dash. So yeah, just, I guess, let's so I think we're coming up to time. I have not seen any more questions, apart from we've got Hadid's one from earlier. So I kind of said what I've been learning about myself during this quarantine and Ramadan. And yeah, I'd be interested to hear what you guys have learned about yourself. So let's kick it off with Ihab.
Wallahi, akhi, that was, like, just reading that question made me think, like, what have I learned? I feel like it'll be more clear after the quarantine. Because like I said, I'm developing small habits, but really like blossom after the quarantine. But one thing that I really learned, so before quarantine, I thought I was this extreme extrovert, right? Like, always want to be out, never at home, you know what I mean? Always doing something. Like, even if there's nothing to do, يعني بعمل لي موضوع, like, literally. So, and not to say, like, obviously we got the quarantine garage gang, you guys know that. So I'm still extrovert in a sense, but I've been finding so much peace in just staying at home, at the times that I'm at home. So I feel like I fooled myself into this extrovertness in a sense, but I'm really slightly extroverted, but still introvert. Like, I like my peace, and maybe at times, like, I do a lot of solo missions, even on my extrovert vision missions. Like, I just go out, but I'll do a lot of like solo missions, just to just be on my own, and with my thoughts and stuff like that. But I do that outside. But I'm learning to kind of do that inside, even with the family around and stuff like that, which I think was, I've lived alone for quite a while from a young age. So this quarantine really, it kind of boosted that sense of, okay, you gotta handle the family while still doing, taking care of whatever you gotta take care of. So that's definitely one thing that I've learned.
Do you lift with Dima on your back? Do you do deadlifts with Dima?
Oh, see, nah, Dima's a mission. So I got a 6-year-old, for everybody that doesn't know, 6-year-old sister, Dima. And yeah, she's You know, every time I'm on the call with any of these people, Diva's always there in the background. You know, she wakes me up at 8 a.m. I had just slept at like 5 a.m. Like, why are you waking me up at 8? You know, and I'm like, so yeah, it's been a hassle dealing with Dima, but she's full of energy, you know. So you look at the other side of the spectrum and you just think, wow, you know, this is a blessing that I miss out on every day, you know. So subhanallah. Yeah, hopefully, you know, we can just keep these bonds going post quarantine, you know.
Inshallah.
100%, 100%.
Yep.
Mubarak?
Yeah, so that's a good question. What did I learn about myself during this quarantine and or like Ramadan? I think I'll start with Ramadan because like leading up to Ramadan, just like my life was super leading up to I don't even know Ramadan's because leading up to the quarantine and like us going on full lockdown, up into that point, like I was just running, not really like experiencing life, especially because like it's my last semester. I have all these final projects, deadlines to me, and then also like I'm about to leave behind like a legacy also, like a lot of organizations that I'm participating with. And I had to figure out like how do you make these sustainable. So I was just so stressed and so overwhelmed because like I felt like this needed to get done. And like the quarantine really slowed me down in that way and kind of like allowed me to reflect. And like what I learned and because I was running, I started to feel like almost like, to be honest with you, like almost spiritually dead in the sense of like just practicing, just doing things off a checklist, like, you know, like not really having that huge like connection piece, like when I pray or like, it was just like, I need to pray because I need to pray. And alhamdulillah, I was doing that. But like, it was just that like, and until Ramadan, until this quarantine, and especially Ramadan, one thing that I learned about myself, like to kind of like revive that spirituality, revive that connection, is that I noticed that I'm a type of person that likes to learn, which is ironic because I'm graduating, but like I like to learn, and also like treating like my faith and my deen in the same way that I would treat my classes, like in the sense of like sitting down, like listening to a lecture and like taking notes, or like really like seeking that knowledge. Because like what you notice like through the like going on a journey like that Islam is so multifaceted in the sense of like you have the minimum that you do, but there's always so much more that you could do. Like you reach like it's never boring. You could always learn more and you could always go deeper. Like there isn't like there you never reach a point where you're like, "Khalas, I'm a scholar." And if you do, you're playing with yourself because then you're gonna trick yourself and go into habits that are just makes you spiritually dead, I guess, in a way where you're just going on a checklist, like Bashi also. I don't know if you're on this live. Like I mean, he made a joke with the I'm like, what is that? Like really, like that made me die because like you hear it all the time. But really, like sitting in there, like being intentional, having that connection. Also, when we make wudu, like spray the water in our face and you're done, right? But like really like feeling the water, rubbing it on your face, and all these different things. Like I just like learned like through this Ramadan, and thankfully because of this quarantine too, is that like for me to feel like the best spiritually is that I can't be passive. I can't be treating like my faith like a checklist. Like I really need to have like an active knowledge seeking effort. So thank you for that question, Hadi.
Yo, that wasn't even a dash, man. That was a jug. MashaAllah, man. That was amazing, Tabarak.
Yo, on that note, before you get on, MJ, congratulations, Tabarak. I don't think we've got to congratulate you on this platform. So from the family of the Dash of Motivation, let's give it one time. Congratulations on graduating, Tabarak. Hopefully, inshallah,
that's it.
The next chapter of yours is full of opportunity and full of motivating others and inspiring others, you know, and reaching the utmost success that you thrive for, inshallah.
Allahumma ameen, Jama'an, inshallah, like class of
2020
vision.
Yep, 2020 vision. I like that.
That's it. MashaAllah, man. Yeah.
Go for it, MJ.
I heard this year is still cancelled though, man. 2020 is cancelled, man.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, that's
Somebody,
what I'm going man.
somebody said I'm not counting that year on my age. I'm like, I feel that.
yeah, that's it. I feel that, man. I feel that.
You guys,
I feel that.
let me tell y'all.
But yeah, honestly, I mean,
because last time when we were like talking about how bad 2019 was, and we're like 2020 is gonna be the year, look what happened. So let's just say, alhamdulillah, like we love you 2020.
nah, man. Yeah, alhamdulillah, man.
Dude, you know what I just
Get out
remembered?
of here. Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
You guys need to see that video. Like,
Get out of
2020 is
here,
your
man.
year, yeah?
Yeah, get out of
outta
here.
man.
Get out of here.
man. Get out of here.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, honestly, this year has been peak, man. Do you know it's been peak? And this ties into the question that Hadil asked. It's been peak, but like at the same time, you can always, in any like bad situation or bad period, you can draw out the beauties of it. And with this kind of lockdown, it allows you to really reflect on your values, like where you're going, where, yeah, and how you can get there, and so that's kind of something I take out from a negative year, from what's been a very bad year. It's something I kind of cling on to in the sense of trying to move forward. And I think in terms of kind of what I've really learned about myself during this period, I've learned that, I really love stories, like whether that's reading up on a story, related to Islam, like the life of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or like reading up on a story on a motivator like Muhammad Ali, or just trying to understand people's stories through this platform, through SDN's Layali Ramadan, and like connecting with like-minded youth, or people that have experience and sharing their stories with you. That's something I'm going to take away from this period. That I love stories. I love hearing about people's triumphs, people's like how they've overcome failure, and how they've used that to kind of make them who they are today. So that's something I've really loved like during this period. And at the same time, I think what Ihab said about extrovert, yani I consider myself an extrovert, yani people that know me know I love people, I'm always around people and stuff like that, but I love my own time as well. And I've realized through this period that I love my own time as well, even more, like, because it's perfect opportunity to really become in tune with your thoughts. And one of the things I've learned as well through Tertil, through G Saleh, through AB, like, is that you can channel those thoughts into a physical like document, right? That's a very good way to digest like what's in your head, and kind of plan a road stuff like a planner or having a journal. I mean, that's something I'm going to take away from this period. And although it's been, I've only just started, it's only been a few days, I'm starting to see the benefit in it, like how writing your goals down can actually make you really go forward, and talking to people that are on that same journey. Yeah, man, it's been a bit of sweet quarantine. And I think, you got to see the positives in any negative situation. And I think that's collectively just hearing everyone else's stories. That's something that, mashallah, we're all going to take forward.
So is this a like a world exclusive that you love stories, you've just started writing in a journal? Should we put two and two together? Are you working on something? Are you gonna write a book?
I like that emoji.
Let's get it.
Yeah.
Bro, G comes with
some
those killer questions, man.
I want them fire emojis in the YouTube if you want a book from Mandoor. Yo, that would be the sickest motivational book ever. Just in there. I want some fire emojis right now.
I appreciate that, man.
And book emojis as well. Get some book emojis.
Listen, if we get we said something on a live recently, if there's like 10 fire emojis, I'll reveal what I'm thinking. I think this came from our live tomorrow.
We move forward. We still have a challenge that you have not accepted yet.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, did not
That's
even go
true.
on that challenge.
That's true.
We're
So
waiting.
moving swiftly
Yeah.
on.
We didn't reach it. It was
Tabarak.
30. It was 30, man.
It was
But no, honestly, Tabarak,
الشبكة
like, I have
كعبة
no.
الشبكة كعبة يا تبارك لك.
Hello.
ما سامعين تبارك ما سامعنا. What's going on?
Moji, I
Oh,
hear
you
you,
said-
Tabarak.
I think
What?
Tabarak
What?
said it's cool. We don't need to do it. Something like that. Thanks, Tabarak. Yeah.
On the previous slide,
Yeah.
the next.
You guys hear anything?
Yo, but Tabarak, seriously, actually, I'm like, so Ihab and Mandur, you both said you're extroverts. Tabarak, I don't want to be presumptuous. What are you?
Ooh. Could you guess? Just make it. Go for it.
Ooh, it's 50-50. I'm gonna say you're an ambivert.
Ooh. Okay.
So it's like,
Ooh.
you show characteristics of both. But I
I
might say
think-
you're more on the extrovert side.
Bro, I think Tabarak is an introvert exploring her extrovert.
Ooh.
Yeah. and really liking the extrovert side of things as well.
Oh yeah. Love the extrovert side of things.
Wow.
MashaAllah, yo, the energy, like, I don't know. Oh, you guys have met Tabarak real life, right? Yeah, I just met her in
Yeah,
Ohio
Sudan.
like a couple of months ago. MashaAllah, the energy's booming in real life. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
need that, yeah.
Hella booming.
MashaAllah.
Y'all are close, but Muhammad Jackson hit it perfectly. Ambivert, is that what it's called? But I'm
Yeah,
definitely
ambivert.
from people. I love to socialize, but I absolutely need like at least like I already have a time like 30 minutes to an hour in the day where I could myself like, and that's usually my and that keeps me motivated. I am.
Dope.
So I can see why you both like think or like you think like I'm exploring my extrovertedness. I tend to be more reserved. So this year I made it. Shout out to my YouTube channel. One of my 2020 goals this year was to be more vulnerable and try to be more open with who I am. So maybe that's what you get the exploring.
Amazing, man. That's a big dash. That's a big dash.
Like,
Once
comment,
again,
and subscribe.
What's the YouTube channel, Tabarak? What's your YouTube channel?
Yeah, little plug, go.
The girl in red, the letter M.
Hey, keeping it consistent.
Check that out.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
What do you guys reckon I am then? If you had to guess.
Bro, you're an extrovert, but you love your me time as well.
You're ambivert.
Ooh, I'm happy.
Moji, before like, I got to know you like just through Mandur and Ibs, I thought you were an introvert.
Really?
Like, obviously,
See,
you can't really tell over social media though.
Yeah,
that's
it's
the
true.
thing about it. So if somebody's super active on social media, and this really what catches me off guard, because sometimes people be super active on social media and in real life they're really introverts. But that's their avenue of extroverting. You know what I mean? And vice versa. So yeah, like through social media, I would think you're an introvert. Like mashallah. Yeah, just getting to know you these past few months, the lives and the cause and stuff like that. Definitely. Yeah, I see the extrovertness. Like, yeah, I also reckon that you need your alone time too.
Yeah, I
So
would say
to where Tabarak's at.
similar. Yeah. So I think basically when I last did the test, like that test, I got introvert. But I think personally I'm more of an ambivert, so I kind of go between the two. And like you were saying about how people use different sort of mediums as their like form of, I guess, extroversion. I don't know, maybe I use speaking as my form, like speaking and conversation and stuff. But yeah, I definitely do like my me time. But yeah, I think I just
That's
enjoy
it.
the company of people and learning from people and you know, having good conversations. So yeah, I
One
think
thing comes to
we
mind, Mohammed. Your so you have and Tabarak and anyone and everyone listening, like one of the first performance I saw Mohammed give his spoken word was at the London Beagle to Sudan. And I'll
I
never, and
remember
that was
that.
that yeah, that was the one outside the European embassy, right? In near Westminster, Mohammed. Um, bro, and I remember like when you were about to perform, like it was like a couple minutes and then you were going to be up. And I remember you were like kind of, you had your mobile like open and you were just kind of going through what you were going to say. And it was going to be your first ever performance in front of a crowd. And it was a very big crowd. A part of you looked nervous, a part of you looked excited. And I remember when you just got on the stage and got on the space and then you started saying the first few lines, bro, it felt like you were a pro, like you'd been doing it for a very long time. And then when you said that line about how can how can the how can the people care more about a cathedral than the Sudanese people? I remember watching the crowd's kind of reaction to that and just, you know, mind blown by what you were saying, bro. And I don't know, like correct me if I'm wrong, but that was kind of your first like insight into how powerful your words can resonate with an audience. And from looking at it on the outside, it encouraged you to keep on writing.
yeah, subhanallah. I mean, obviously I couldn't have summed it up any different way. Yeah, definitely like nerves and excitement and like it's just a whole whirlwind of stuff. But yeah, like I'm honestly really, really glad that I performed. And yeah, it's like that's the thing that I'm always taken aback by. Like sometimes you just write and you're just like, okay, like, you know, I just want it to be good for me. Like that's all that matters. I want me to think that that's good. And if I put it out there, then like you just, you know, you don't necessarily have expectations of how people are going to react. And then when there's a positive reaction, I'm always just sort of taken aback by it. But yeah, that was like, alhamdulillah, I'm really, really happy I was there. And obviously you were there, Sebo was there in support. And yeah, just like keeps motivating me
We were
to
there in
keep
spirit
performing.
too, Moji. I
Exactly,
remember.
yeah.
I really remember that poem actually from the video. And I don't
That's
know
it.
if I saw it
That's
from
it.
Endur or somebody else, but somebody had that poem recorded and posted it. And you know, like I vividly remember that day. You know, and then it was outside of the European. What was it?
European
What you
Commission, I
guys?
think. Yeah.
Yeah, European
That's it.
Commission.
That's
Yeah,
it.
vividly remember that. Mashallah, that was amazing, man.
Yeah,
Powerful, man.
appreciate it,
Powerful.
honestly.
That was you exploring your outer extrovert, bro.
Exactly. Yeah, but I think go ahead, Tabarak. No, go
There's
ahead.
like also different levels to extroverts. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
definitely extroverts get their energy from people. Like, that's how they feel more like in tune with themselves. But there's like different levels. Like listen, I don't know if I'm wrong or right. You guys could correct me, but like Ihab and Mandud, both of y'all like are the extroverts that could be in a huge group of people and still feel like even like your energy just
Mm-hmm.
right or no.
Yeah, I would say so.
It's like yeah. I'm in Ohio. I asked.
You saw him in Ohio, so you would have. I can say that for sure for a help, man. But yeah, same for me, man. Like, I love. I think when the smaller the crowd is, the more intimate. You know, you can connect more. I
Yeah.
think, like on a one-to-one kind of basis. But yeah, I love big crowds as well. Like, you feed off the
Yeah.
energy, especially especially when you're kind
Exactly.
of
Yeah.
talking in front of your own people. You see nothing but love. You know, it fuels you.
It's a fact.
Nice,
Yeah. Well,
nice.
honestly, I'm big on like feeding off of everybody's energy. Like, and you know, when the energy is positive and in a room full of people, like, you know, it just inspires me to do better. Like every time I perform or you know, I'm at a basketball sold out game or if I'm giving a speech, you know, in front of a crowd, like every time I come out of that, I feel like I've elevated a little bit. You know what I mean? it's I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like I came out of that with a boost of energy, you know. So I upgraded a little bit, and it's just, you know, that's just how I look at it. But it's just beautiful feeding off of everybody's energy, especially when it's from your own people, like Mandur said. That it's just nothing but love, you know.
Yeah. That's really interesting. That's really interesting because, like, I mean, like in some senses there are parallels between like public speaking and poetry, but like I would on one sense I would completely agree with you. When I've done public speaking, like done presentations and that kind of stuff, I always feel, or even like panel discussions or, you know, Zoom, like these Dash of Motivations, I feel like every time, yeah, like it's being added to your, I guess, like the strength of your armor. I don't know why I said armor. It's not, you know, it's not a defensive thing, but it's like, it's your armory. So
Yeah,
like
that's
your
a good-
overall,
that's
like,
That's a good way to say it.
bro.
but for, yeah, with public speaking, I feel every time you do it, it's like you gain that confidence. You're like, your chest puffs up a little bit more the next time, and you're like, yeah, I've got this. But like, I don't know, maybe it's because for me, public speaking seems like have you guys heard of like gravitas and levitas? So like,
No.
it's a concept of like gravitas is like weight. That's what it is,
I
means
felt
Latin
Harry
for
Potter,
weight.
bro. Is it from Harry Potter?
No, you did not just drop a Harry Potter. Bro.
Bro, that sounds like a Harry Potter kind of thing, fam.
Harry Potter.
Is
Yeah,
it,
no,
Moji?
it's not. It's like, okay, you you think I'm about to drop Harry Potter wisdom?
Yeah, bro. Start quoting Voldemort and stuff, fam.
I don't even know how to recover from
Mandur's
that.
front of his move. Mandur's front of his move. I feel like Mandur is definitely read all the Harry Potter books.
Bro, I have, you
bro,
know. I've read the whole series.
Oh,
it's a must.
man.
It is a must. It's a must. That's not even
It's
lying
a
about
must,
that.
bro. It's a must.
Yeah.
It's a must.
Like,
Fam, yeah, man. I know Tabarak, you feel me on that.
Tabarak, have you
Wrong
have you read
era. Wrong era.
what do you mean?
it?
Harry Potter is my
Have you read it? Have you read all the books?
as a kid, I actually hated reading, so I watched like the movies. Yeah.
I could barely watch the
Oh.
movies. I watched them, but I could barely watch them. So there was no way I was gonna read the books. I'm sorry. Even though a lot of people do recommend it, but
yeah, نص عمرك ضاع, bro. That's all I could say.
Exactly.
احنا كمان نشوف النص الجاي.
Yeah, I'm happy to know what the spell that you were talking about.
So back
Yeah,
to
we
my Harry
cut you
Potter
off,
wisdom. So gravitas means weight so like gravitas is weight and levitas is light. And basically you must have heard like, oh, this person has a lot of gravitas, right? They say that about people, like, you know, when he speaks on stage, he has a lot of gravitas. That means that person has like weight to what the words that they say. You know, they come onto, like, example is somebody like Steve Jobs. He would come onto the stage. There's complete silence. Like everybody's got their attention on him. There's a weight to him, right? Stage presence. And so the idea of gravitas and levitas is that levitas is like the light-hearted side, the warm side. And so that's like, you know, being personable, being, you know, joking, warm, smiling, that kind of stuff. And they say that in order to have stage presence, you need to have a good mixture of both of them. So the gravitas and the levitas. So if you're too serious, people think, oh, this person is a confident and he's like, you know, there's a certain like, there's a quality about him in the sense that his words mean something, but they don't trust you because there's no warmth. And like as humans, we need sort of that warmth and that humanity side of it. So the two together give you presence. But this is not to say that however you present at the moment, you should just shift yourself to be what, you know, incorporate that. You always need to try and include your own personal style. Otherwise it doesn't seem like it's actually you. But I think the point I was going to make is that with presenting, I feel like people are looking more for that, the gravitas. They're looking for, you know, they like to see if you've actually got the, you know, the quality, right? Like you're an assured person, you speak with gravitas. But when it comes to poetry, I feel like it's more about vulnerability and exposing like your, you know, the emotions and the humanity. So actually, I don't know, it's like, how do you strengthen vulnerability? It seems like counterintuitive, doesn't it? Because it seems like you're like opening your heart more and more and letting more things in, which a lot of people we've kind of created, or not created, but we've shifted ourselves against that. We've tried to cover our vulnerabilities. So I guess that's my long-winded explanation of saying sometimes after a poetry session, you feel more open, but not necessarily, you don't feel like you've taken a step forward. You just feel like you've, I don't know, somebody's like stabbed you in the chest with a sword and you're just on the ground, you know, like that. I don't know. That's some really terrible analogies going on, but
nah, I feel you, man. I feel what you're saying.
Say that you feel.
I feel what you're saying.
Do you feel like more? Yeah.
Pardon?
Do you feel like more open after like say a poetry experience, or do you feel more like that?
No, I feel like, yeah, like I feel more open, but sometimes that openness feels scary because, you know, you might be talking about something very personal. You might be talking about something that, like for example, the poem At the Vigil, that one was about something that is horrific, right? So even like when I was writing that, it took me a few days to write it, a few really late nights, and like I like literally my heart would be just racing and like my eyes would be, you know, full of tears, and you're just on a nerve. And I'm like, I just that feeling, I had to keep saying to myself, you just have to finish this, like don't, like, because you can't keep yourself in this place. And then when you go back to reciting it, you take yourself back there again, and then you leave yourself feeling like exposed and your nerves open. So it's like, yeah, I don't know, it's like hypersensitive. Whereas when you present, you don't feel like, I just come off and I'm just like, that was sick, you know, like, but when you perform, you just like, you feel so like, you know, I don't know. But when you guys, you know, when people speak to you afterwards and they say how it resonates and all this, that's where the connection is, because you like let your defenses down and let people in.
Yeah, I feel exactly what you're saying, Mo. Like, so essentially, it's like after a performance, whether that be poetry or presentation, although you might feel that, or others give you that feedback that it was very good, it doesn't necessarily mean you've added like a confidence boost for the next one. You'll still feel that kind of nervousness to do it, even though subconsciously you've become a professional in delivering it, in opposed to what Hab was saying in the sense that after every game, you know, by kind of you reach every game, like after the game you just played, you're kind of like building upon the level of confidence that you've managed to gain before that. So I think that's very natural, bro. I think that's very natural. Like I feel like that sometimes as well. Like, you know, we all went through a conference, you know, in Sudan, and that for us was like, you know, that was a big platform. Like we're doing presentations in front of like a very big audience. So then anything, the way I kind of see it, anything after that, it becomes, also it can be a big platform, but at the sense that if you do get worried or nervous about performing, you can always think, hey, you know what? I've done something on a bigger scale before, or participated in something on a bigger scale. So what I'm doing now shouldn't actually frighten me. It's just my mind is playing the fear game, right? And I think once you really think like that, and that's how I kind of do it whenever I, you know, like get on another like performance or like presentation. I just think, you know what, I've done something similar to this before. So all these kind of thoughts of fear lingering through my mind, it's just there to cast self-doubt in a way. You've got this, you know, and then you go, and then within the first minute or so, you find that, you know, that's the hardest part of it. But then after you get into it, you find that everything's okay.
Yeah, no, completely
I feel like
agree.
have a dash of motivation about just presenting, it's like a powerful like tool to have in your toolbox, and definitely like perspectives from each one of us about what that experience is like and how to like overcome nervousness and so on.
Yeah, facts. Definitely. We've got Mandor, Ihab, yourself, you know, plenty of expertise. So I'm gonna try do a job at rounding this up. Yeah, I think you know, it's been a really interesting discussion, just reflecting on lockdown, reflecting on Ramadan habits, and even delving into our own personalities and maybe how, you know, what we've realized about ourselves more through this lockdown. And so I'm gonna do a quick wrap up, and the question I want you to think about as your sort of parting note to the people is, how do we make the days count? Just a little bite size, you know, 30 seconds to 1 minute saying, here's how, you know, we make the days count, or it could be addressed to yourself. So first, I'm just going to give a quick reflection. So I liked, you know, you guys, mashallah, all had amazing stuff to say. I liked about, you know, the fact that it's not, you know, the last second half or the last 10 days, it's actually about the habits that you've already sort of been building as we've been going through Ramadan. And that's not to say that anybody who has not utilized the time cannot. It's just to say that, you know, habits take time, start small and incrementally keep going. You know, we've all definitely reflected more, and we've because of the extra time we've been given, and I think we've all benefited from that greatly. It's helped us to reflect on our goals. It's helped us to read Quran more, and not just read Quran, but be present to reflect on the Quran, the tafsir, and to consistently ask why are we doing these things? You know, why are we praying Sunnah? Why are we praying Taraweeh? You know, whose example essentially are we following? Why are we aspiring to that? And I think that comes back to, again, what Tabarak was saying about being intentional. And I think we definitely need to take that intentionality into, I don't know if that's a word, but into the second half, and just continue to develop our relationships with ourselves, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the people around us, as we've been taught by AB. And I think, you know, I think we all have a mixed reflection on lockdown in terms of, we think we've learned a lot. I think ultimately there are a lot of things that we want that we haven't been able to get in lockdown. And actually we think that when we go back to that, it's going to make us more present in those moments, in terms of, it's that friend that you haven't seen in a while. It's just being able to be spontaneous with people. And then, of course, don't let this productivity drive kind of affect you and your personal health and well-being. You know, your health is your wealth. Keep your health in check, and your wealth will be in the check. I'm not going to say that any more times.
Somebody write that down on the comment section.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, listen, Mo, you need to put that on your Insta bio. Insta bio. Mo, Jack, keep your health in check. Keep your health in check.
And the wealth will be in the check. Or is it, and the wealth
will be,
and the wealth in check, but spelt with a check, you know. But yeah, and I like the final thing, I guess. Yeah, you know, obviously we're gonna face a tough time in the next year with the economy, and after that there's going to be all this productivity drive. Just keep checking in with yourself, and then I really like what you said, and I wrote in capitals, running. We just always felt like we were running, like where were we running to, what were we running from, maybe. And so just keep checking in to understand that, and try not to allow yourself to just kind of become this floating thing that doesn't feel engaged in its things. And I guess continue to find what inspires you and what motivates you. And I think, a lot of us in this time, we've been very inspired by stories, by people, by the people around us. Proximity is power. So yeah, I think we've still got 10 days, more than 10 days to go. Just be intentional and do the very best you can. As Tabarak said, be intentional. No, sorry, not be intentional. Be gentle, but in these last 10 days, be aggressive. There you go. That's what I'll leave you with. Mandoor, you're on the screen, so I'm gonna put you up on the spot first. Summarize. How do we make the last 10 days count? Just a one minute from you.
So, okay. I was gonna say, yeah, don't count the days, make the last days count by reflecting more, by using the time and space to indulge in your thoughts, writing them down on a piece of paper, connecting more through spirituality, reading Al-Quran Al-Kareem, asking questions, connecting with like-minded individuals, and really, tuning into those programs or schedules that can unify, mobilize, or empower your mindset.
Preach. All right. Tabarak.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna suggest that everyone does a mindset check. And we often ask ourselves, how is this quarantine treating us? Like we ask our friends, but I'm gonna tell y'all to switch it to, how are you treating this quarantine? How are you treating this Ramadan? And that's how we're gonna empower ourselves.
Big facts. Ihab, the
that was
beast.
dope.
Bring us home.
Sir. Yes, sir. Wallahi, it's been real, and just just being in this dash and motivation always kind of leaves me in thoughts. After this, I'm always motivated to kind of take the butter out of what we spoke about and kind of try to implement it in my day-to-day life. So what I would leave people with, for the last 10 days is literally the summation of everything that we said. Be intentional, be present, focus on your health and well-being, but at the same time, plan strategically and have a purpose for the last 10 days. The last 10 days, they're the most blessed days of the year. I would leave people with maybe advice of giving as much as you can. And you can never not give, especially us in the Western world, like, even with the check cuts, it's like that, you can still afford to give somebody in an underdeveloped country that, cannot afford to stay at home at this point in time. So yeah, giving, and it's, it always comes back in multiples, and it's an investment for the dunya and for the akhirah. So that's maybe advice I would leave everybody with, and just try to get in tune with your spirituality, your thoughts, and even maybe start planning ahead of quarantine. I know we have a lot of time for ourselves. Try to explore yourself and see what you're good at, and set goals for yourself, life goals and short-term goals, and just start working on that with the time you have.
Exactly. I love it. And as we always do, Tabarak, we got to end with